Hello YouTube and welcome to GrunfWorks. This is episode 33 of the Interplanetary Voyage of Exploration, and in today's episode we have Hallery Kerman over here, who has in previous launched a Duna Rescue ship, and the main purpose of that rescue ship was to basically retrieve the Kerbals, Chuck Kerman, Ikrit Kerman and Wilhuff Tarkin Kerman out of the deathly clutches of Duna. And just a quick recap, in one of our previous episodes we were intending to land a Duna tanker rover, and Wilhuff, Tarkin, Ikrit and Chuck were piloting that. However, the rover flipped, and then the lander had to come after it, and it didn't have enough delta V to take off. So we have they have been patiently waiting, slowly running out of food supplies, so the situation for them is pretty dire. They have another year, but a conventional craft just wouldn't cut it. So that's why we have built a warp-capable craft that would hopefully retrieve them and return them back to the Duna Orbital Station, where we will be onwards deciding their fate, whether some of them will be returning home, or some of them might be staying on the station, or some of them might be waiting for a base that I've been trying to engineer and build. Note that we are now leaving Kerbin Orbital Dock, or Orbital Refuelling Station, which was there, and we had it to refuel on the Karborundrum, because despite us having the Karborundrum rovers at the KSC, I prefer to keep them for space planes, SSTOs and such purposes, so having refuel over there would be an overkill. And by the way, this craft was engineered long before I had the Karborundrum on the surface of Kerman, so that's also one thing, or one very valid point to consider. Now, we are most definitely burning to get us out of the Kerbin's sphere of influence. And basically, yeah, that's kind of the deal here. So I'm trying to get us in a high elliptical orbit, where I will be ditching this transfer stage. I mean, this was a transfer to station stage. But we don't want to waste any fuel, because, I mean, despite the fact that this space lander has roughly 18,000 delta V or even more, we are still, trying to be conservative in terms of our fuel consumption. By the way, this will be a little bit heavier edited episode, because I feel that some of the parts took forever. One of them being maneuver node fiddling until I successfully got in the orbit around Duna, and nobody wants to see. You want to see me maybe land for 5 minutes or something, but you don't want to see me fiddling with maneuver nodes for 15 minutes, so that part I will be cutting out. I don't think anybody will be missing it. I certainly didn't miss it when I tried to re-review this video before actually posting it. So yeah, I had to re-record the audio for this and completely re-engineer it, because some section in between was just dull and boring. So yeah, I figured to try and put a little bit more extra effort in terms of keeping the content, going, interesting and flowing. Not to say that there will be some longer burns, especially with the warp craft, it is to be expected, but yeah, I won't spoil too much for you. Anyway, we have burned enough to get us in a bit of a higher elliptical orbit around Kerman. We are still burning orbit prograde, just to make sure that we get to a high enough altitude. And at that point, once we actually get there, we will be going up, and then hopefully we will be using our Karborundrum drives, etc. I just wanted, before separating the transfer stage, I wanted to make sure that I suck all the monoprop from the transfer stage. Okay, soon our delta V is coming to an end, and stage. Bye-bye. You will remain as a space debris, and my Karborundrum drives give it a nice kick in the kanigis. So, this is our final version of the Duna Rescue lander. Okay, just lining up my maneuver node, etc. And I am coasting up to the apoapsis where we will be engaging our warp drive. That's the plan anyway. Note, I have no idea what's the Duna's relative position to Kerbin at this point, so it could be that we will have a very, very high amount of burn. Oh, look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? I certainly think so. Okay, fine. We are coming to 800 and 900 and roughly 970, 980, 990 and 1000 kilometers. Bang! Ding, ding, ding. Well, okay. Or we could just open up the cargo bay and deploy our warp drive. Yep, that could work. Let me just grab my info panel. I mean, this, by the way, is from B9 Info Drive mod. I love that one because it keeps reminding me of my action groups. Opening the cargo bay and engaging the warp drive, making sure that we are pointed prograde towards our target, which is Duna. Let's close this window and let's start kicking in the drive. Off we go. Take us to the warp, Scotty. Or Hallery, sorry. Take us to the warp, Hallery. Okay, I have to get ASAP to the map view because, yeah, you know, making sure that we are going in the right direction with the warp drive is a little bit more difficult. This game definitely wasn't engineered to be running on a warp drives, and clearly my Kerbal engineer is freaking out completely, which is to be expected. We are probably now on the trajectory to escape the solar system as well. Yeah, this drive does wonders, what can I tell you? I'm decelerating a little bit. As you can see, we are flying towards this tiny red dot, which is Duna. Or at least I'm hoping it is, otherwise I have taken Hallery on a completely unnecessary mission towards this completely strange target. Okay. Going towards Duna. I believe we are taking it at warp 1 or warp 2 roughly, 1.5. Just remember, guys, warp isn't about burning. We are not burning. It is translating from point A to point B. Basically, we are contracting the space ahead of us and expanding the space behind us. But our velocity momentum is still the same as it was when we were around Kerbin. Meaning, once I get there, here I will still have to perform an orbital insertion burn, which, given the differences in the relative position of the planets, can be calculated using some advanced math stuff, but suffice to say, it can go from pretty high to goddamn awful. So, and hi Ike, and hi Duna. I really like the warp capability. Okay, so now let's see how much insertion burn will cost us. Oh boy, and we have already passed the periapsis. Okay, let's just give it a quick estimation how much it would take us. Ooh, talking about horrendous time burns. I was hoping that it would take roughly maybe 3,000-4,000 delta V, but it turns out it's 14 rather. Oh boy. You know what that means, and we have already passed the periapsis. So, actually, that means that I need to re-engage my warp drive and go back a little bit. Let's just see, I want to make sure that I'm burning in the correct direction. Well, once again, speaking about burning, sorry. And here is some content that I skipped because, fiddling with a maneuver node and trying to figure out where I am, it's just tedious. So, I wanted to make sure that I'm far enough, because the total burn to insert us around Duna will be around 14,000 delta V. And guys, in real time, that was some 30-something minutes burn. So, yeah, as you can see, 30 and something minutes burn. So I really didn't want to have a single episode. Yeah, I will be burning. However, you will see the duration of the entire burn. Only thing, it will be accelerated at roughly, let's say, 8 times plus times acceleration. So, yeah. What you're seeing now is roughly 2 times acceleration, 2 to 3. And I just wanted to make sure that I've positioned my craft nicely. I wanted to make sure that Hallery has some snacks and an in-flight movie to watch. I mean, Hallery doesn't need an in-flight movie technically. He has a beautiful view of Duna, or actually he would have had if we had positioned the capsule like that, because this one doesn't have too many windows. Speaking of the capsule, let's talk a little bit about this craft. It has a total of, I believe, 5 spots available and only 1 pilot. That means we could, in theory, take up to 4 Kerbals wherever. Of these 5 other 4 spots, 2 are within the capsule, and the other 2 are in the cryopods. So if at any point this craft needs to return home the conventional way, it still has life support, but the idea is that it can go back even the conventional way with the Kerbals being frozen, and then we just basically wake them up the moment we come. I have deliberately reduced the volume, so this is not a bug, because now I have accelerated the burn with 8 times acceleration to 8 to, I believe, 8 to 8.5, so 850%. And as you can see, Duna is approaching, and you can see the entirety of the burn. The only thing is that given that this length, it will become a little bit more manageable. For me, what I did, I just put the mode maneuver prograde and I went to record off something else while this was burning, because, yeah, that's an entire separate episode of whatever content you want. Okay, but, yeah, I was recording audio for the other stuff, but doesn't matter. Anyway, now, as you can see, we are like 1/4 through the burn. Yeah, this has very high delta V, and this is one of the downsides of using the warp. So I saw a lot of arguments for the Alcubierre drives and stuff, saying that this is too much OP, this is not too much fun and stuff. But if you really consider that you still have to perform these horrendous burns without a good fuel and a good very, very high ISP, you are basically not able to do jack s.it without, you can only do flybys, so to say. And God forbid that you just dip into the atmosphere. I mean, at the velocity you would be passing by, you would just explode. As simple as that. So don't even think about coming here and trying to do the aero brake. You will be most likely be pulling a Danny. So yeah. Okay, we are halfway through the burn. Hallery looks as happy as ever. He's clearly entertained by whatever movie he is watching. And he knows that once we actually get into the orbit, we will start doing maneuver node and all fiddling to get as soon as possible onto the surface of Duna. And I'm hoping that we will be able to land near Chuck and Ikrit. If you remember, I have sent an Eve lander probe to test out the Balut system, which is basically a high altitude aero brake using huge parachute that look like donuts. And the one of the things is that I won't be able to... I'll actually show it earlier, and that's on this craft, and that's simply due to the reason I needed a good and efficient way how to come very close to the actual site, and by performing you know, retrograde burns and all that jazz, I didn't have a good solution. So yeah, and with the fact that my trajectories is fooling me and I suck at landings or high precision landings. So for me this was hopefully an easy way out. Okay, let's just see how are we doing. Now I have once again stopped a little bit in terms of 8 times acceleration burn. I just wanted to see how my ship was doing. Okay, and back onwards to our accelerated burn. Okay, once again speeding it up 8 times and also accelerating a little bit, because there's only a finite amount of time I can sell burning around Duna orbit as entertainment. We are coming up to the end of our burn, and I think at that point I overcooked the burn just by a smidge. As you can see here, yes. And then I realized, oh boy, holy crap, I overcooked it. Instead of stopping the time acceleration, I have pressed the time acceleration, so I basically needed to flip my craft back and just burn a little bit back. That would be one interpretation. Another one would be that while I was getting coffee, I realized my ship was still burning, although in the wrong direction. Yeah. Okay, what can you do? Those long burns can have these problems from time to time. And as one of my colleagues tends to say, the problem, or the main problem, is between the monitor and the seat. Yeah, good call. Okay, so tiny burn, now we are getting correctly positioned, and I have selected one of the Duna orbital stations or satellites or whatnot to align, because then we would be roughly in the same orbital plane as everything else. And for that I need to also be performing a tiny normal burn just to fix the inclination. That's the plan anyway. Okay, so let's kick a time acceleration to get to Duna. Yep. Alright, and we are coming there. Great. Okay, yes, thank you maneuver node for always, or not maneuver node, Kerbal alarm clock, for always reminding me the burns that I would otherwise miss. And it's completely honest, guys, I would miss it every single time. Okay, burning up. Like I said, compared to the previous burn, this was like easy peasy lemon squeezy. Okay. Making sure that we also descend much lower into the atmosphere. All of my burns will be powered because I don't trust myself when it comes to aerobrake. The only aerobrake or capture that I plan to be doing is when we will be actually landing, so yes. You would hope that once I would learn, and even trajectories, guys, is not giving me an accurate reading. Even that one was basically, fumbling with me when I was doing the test. So that's why I wanted to institute ballots sooner rather than later. And I think you guys will find it actually quite cool. I was certainly enjoying it. Oh, look at this beautiful picture. I'll shut up for a minute. There we go. Beautiful, isn't it? Okay, maneuver node reminding me. Okay, thank you very much. Now, a couple of more adjustments and then we will be low enough in the orbit, and then it's all about finding a suitable place from which to perform the deorbit burn and hopefully descend, dip into the Duna's atmosphere, deploying a balloon, and then later on deploying the parachutes and hopefully landing close enough to chuck Ikrit and Wilhuff Tarkin. Alright, I believe we are more or less okay. So let us just reduce that final bit of periapsis. I don't need to be aligning exactly, but I want to have the rough idea. And as you can see, we are doing quick orbits, but the site of the rover tanker landing is on the dark side. Since I don't want to be working on the dark side, I'll have to do a couple of orbital laps until the site comes on the light side again. So yes, there will be some waiting happening, but as always I will cut it out so that you guys can just enjoy the show, hopefully. Okay, sunrise over Duna coming up. There we go. I always enjoy sunrises over Duna. I don't know why, but I guess it's a Mars thing. Okay, we are coming up on our maneuver node. Once again, Kerbal alarm clock popping up and telling us it's time to burn. Thank you for that. Alright, this is the final burn. There we go. Beautiful 50 by 50-ish orbit. So I just want to keep slightly above the atmosphere and then we start dipping in. Okay, as you can see, we are now going for the final deorbit burn. Now, still there are a couple of laps and we will need to wait for a couple of hours until the site gets into the daylight. So yes, we will need to be doing a couple of laps, but you guys don't need to see this. So I will be skipping ahead and making sure that we get into the meat of things, which is burning and hopefully, yeah, here we go. As you can see, finally we have a site that is in the sunlight. I accelerated by 2 hours, which basically meant endless laps or just taking a satellite in the higher orbit and just, yeah. Okay, and I want to be putting a waypoint because I want to know roughly what's my distance to target. I found that highly useful with this navigation point. So, this is my waypoint. There are many like it, but this one is mine. Yes, yes. Exactly. Okay, so let's put the maneuver node and let's plop it somewhere over there. So what I want to be doing is I want to dip into the atmosphere. So I'm planning my maneuver node so that I start dipping into the atmosphere slightly before the actual side, because I'm expecting the balloons to cause very high drag and decelerate us to a great effect over the site. We do have to fix our inclination by a little bit because we do want to be passing overhead. So I'm just eyeballing it and I think something like this should do it. It's hard to tell. because this is the first time that we are deploying balloons and the first time that we'll be trying to pulling anything with them. It's a mod that I have installed actually like a few episodes ago because it looked cool and I thought, okay, there might be a use for it. So like my all mods and all of my mods, I basically install only if I foresee a possible usage for them. So yeah. Okay, flying over the site, waving down to the crowd below. Hey Ikrit, hey Chuck, and now I will come to get you, says Halri. Either that or we will have another unplanned Duna colony. I'm hoping for the former. Okay, thank you Kerbal alarm clock once again. Coming up on our maneuver node. Okay, there we go. And 3, 2, 1, let's burn. Great. I'd say that was accurate enough, and now it's time to do the fun stuff. Time for a landing. Now, given that my balut is at the rear of the craft, I want to be, once I start dipping into the atmosphere, I want to be using the, I want to be going nose forward. Which is a little bit, you know, confusing, but that's the only place where I could actually fit the damn thing. Weight distribution and all that jazz wise. So, I'm just arranging everything so that it's not completely in the way. I have disabled my Karborundrum engines. So far so good. We seem to be going in the right orientation, right direction. Great. Oh, this is a wonderful opportunity for a screeny. And there we go, deploying the balut. Okay, let's see what it does to our estimated landing site. Oh yes, it's shortening, that's for sure. Look at it, guys. Ain't it majestic? Ain't it awesome? Sorry for keeping it so short. I mean, I have to keep my eye on the cursor here, just to know how to cut it. Okay, we are coming up close. Let's cut it. You only had short time to enjoy it, but yeah, sorry. I have to make sure that my descent is on point. It actually proved to be much more efficient than I hoped. In my future attempts, I will actually rather try deploying it a little bit later and using it for a little bit more. Okay. We are well positioned for a nice atmospheric re-entry now. We have bled off a significant amount of speed, which is good. I just want to, now I'm burning a little bit sideways to adjust that final angle in terms of arrival. I have to be careful because, as you can see, I don't have a whole lot of Karborundrum any longer, so I have to be rather careful in terms of how am I burning, and yeah. Perfect. Burning, burning, burning. We seem to be on a good trajectory. Just making sure that I align my retrograde marker. It's sort of like docking, just in atmosphere, so yeah. Okay, we seem to be coming quite close. A little bit more side slippage burn to make those two align. Okay, we will be overshooting it, and I need to be deploying my parachutes rather sooner rather than later. So, okay, now I can start deploying them and kicking the parachutes. Yay! Now, that's one major stoppage. And guys, by the way, it looks, I think we will be stopping by close enough, which is amazing. Wow! Okay, let's delete the waypoint so we don't have it in the way. We are definitely within the physics range, that's for sure. And that's awesome. Hallery, you sly fox, you seem that you will do it. Awesome. Gentle landing, just making sure that we orient ourselves correctly. 2,700 above the sea level, which is funny because on Duna there is no sea, or at least not the one that we can see with our naked eye. Maybe there are some underwater or undersurface sea. I'm just trying now to gently nudge into the right direction, but still, regardless, I think it will be good enough. Okay, we are coming in for the landing. I hope that this landing length will be good enough to suffice. Coming down. Our shadow is glitching. Okay. Ever so carefully. Oh, by the way, I could do just retrograde burn. Yeah, that would be much easier. There we go. And, oops, landed. Woohoo! Awesome. Hallery, you did it. Congratulations. Wilhuff, Tarkin, Chuck, and Ikrit, you shall be rescued. Okay, first things first. Let us repack all of our chutes. Yeah, sounds like zipping your pants, that's for sure. Okay, let us open the ladders. Awesome. You now come down and you need to repack the balut. Well, that is some serious parachute folding that needs to be done here. Ooh, a little bit graphical glitching. Nevertheless, we want to be planting a flag because just for selfie reasons, we want to know people to know that we did it. Hallery, you're the man. Or, you're the Kerbal. Okay guys, let's wrap it up for this episode. Like if you like, hit subscribe for more KSP content that will be coming soon. And I will be seeing you in the next episode. And until then, thank you very much for watching. This is GrunfWorks signing off from Duna Surface.